Messages started pouring in from heads of state across the world and around the region. So regional presidents have sent messages of condolences to Zambia on the demise of Zambia's sixth president, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu. So in picture there, you can see Tanzanian president there, the lady on the far left on the top. You can see William Ruto, president of Kenya, on the far right there. And then right at the bottom there, you can see the new female president from Namibia. Then on the far left on the bottom there, you can see President Emerson Mnangagwa of Zimbabwe, South African Cyril Ramaphosa there, and then many more. So more messages are coming through with regard to offering condolences to the Zambian general public and the Edgar Lungu family on the demise of our former head of state. So as these messages have been pouring in, there's been a different conversation in Zambia with regard to what's happening since it was announced that the president, the former head of state, had died. So this is a question that has been lingering. So say 40 hours later, nothing, no formal national mourning, no official broadcast. So that's the conversation that people have been asking, to say they expected a broadcast from the head of state, that's the sitting president, Hakainde Hichilema, to address the nation, not just the post. That's one view coming from that. And then Laura Miti also asked the question to say, the day that the former head of state died, Edgar Chagwa Lungu, ZNBC, instead of having a breaking news of that news item, they just put it as part of their news cycle. So people are asking to say, when is Zambia going to get to a place where we can address funerals, be the first to handle our own funerals? Because if you remember, even when KK died, that news delayed. It was South Africa that actually, SABC, that broke the news to say the founding father had died. So that's the conversation people are having, to say, what's going on? What is the former vice president, Inonga Wina, visited the funeral house, or the place that has been designated as a public mourning site, that is the Patriotic Front Secretariat. And that's where she went to pay her last respects there. And then when she was walking there, she broke down, and a number of people broke down with her. And then KBF also joins in the conversation. He says it's now the third day since the passing of our president, former president, His Excellency Edgar Chagwa Lungu. And then obviously the conversation comes in to say, when is government going to chant the way forward on what's going on? These are more images that are coming from the Patriotic Front Secretariat, where Inonga Wina was. And then you can see that stronghold, strong woman of PF. You can see they are embracing each other as they broke down in memory of Edgar Chagwa Lungu. So right after the president, Hakainde Hichilema, had put up that post where he was notifying the nation to say he was made aware of the passing of Edgar Lungu, he did another post 23 hours ago, pretty much like a follow-up to it. And this is what the head of state had to say. Hakainde Hichilema said, today, cabinet convened in a solemn remembrance to honor and pay a tribute to the sixth president of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu. Our thoughts and prayers remain with his family, loved ones, and the entire nation during this this time of sorrow. Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia. So that was the second post that came from the head of state with regard to the funeral at hand. Say cabinet had met, and then just updating the nation on what has happened with regard to that. More images you can see given Luinda there that looks distraught at the PF Secretariat when he was receiving former Republican Vice President, that's Inonga Wina. You can see the man has been crying there. These were the people that were very close to Edgar Chagwa Lungu, so the impact, you can see it right through their faces there. So that's given Luinda. And then Emmanuel Mwamba asked the question to say, the commissioning of Kazungula water treatment plant couldn't wait until after the funeral. What do you think? So he asks, say, how can government proceed with different programs, and instead of calling it off or postponing it, because a number of concerts have been cancelled around the country, especially those that were supposed to happen this weekend because of the same. In as much as the official national mourning has not yet been communicated by government, but people themselves have adjusted themselves. So Emmanuel Mwamba is asking to say, well, how come can government make adjustments to this program? So people mourn in different ways. So that's his way. More images. I mean, the former vice president Inonge Wina broke down at the secretariat. So the images of how being there have been circulating, and people are just saying to say, he had lived a life of impact, and people are touched by that. So our government is yet to chart a way forward, and then people are like, we can't just be left in limbo, because at the moment, government has not communicated how it's going to proceed. Whether it's going to be a state funeral or it's going to, that information has not come across. So people are now just speculating, and you can see the back and forth. So the good thing is that government finally engaged the family. So this was posted by Emmanuel Mwamba, the first engagement, and you see there Makebi Zulu and then Minister of Justice on the far right there. So they say preliminary meeting between government and the family takes place in South Africa. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Internal Corporations, Honorable Mulambe Haimbe, is leading a delegation of government officials to South Africa to secure the remains of Internal Republican the remains and eventual repatriation of Zambia's sixth president, Dr. Edgar Chagwa. Earlier, Honorable Himbe, accompanied by officials from Cabinet Office and Acting High Commissioner to South Africa, Mrs. Inonge Mwenya, met with the family representatives led by Honorable Makebi Zulu at the Radisson Blue Hotel in Sandton, at which preliminary issues and proposals were discussed. A follow-up meeting will be held later. An agreed position will be communicated. This is to ensure that a balance of family, party, and state interests reached to ensure that President Edgar Lungu's mourned and send off with dignity befitting a former head of state. Patriotic Front Secretary General Honorable Raphael Nakashinda has joined the family in South Africa. The Zambian community living in South Africa have requested that both the government and family plans they can accord and provide the church service in South Africa before the body is repatriated to Zambia. So the Zambian community in South Africa is making a request to say that right before the remains of the former head of state are sent back to Zambia, if they can be given the opportunity to have a church service in South Africa, they will appreciate that. I don't see that happening, honestly, at the rate the way things are moving. But anyway, they were free to submit that. And then the president, after that, the previous post that I showed you, put up to say, on behalf of the people of Zambia, I extend our warmest greetings and heartfelt wishes on the Muslim community on occasion of Eid Mubarak. So when you put up this post, when you go to the comment section of that post, people are not even scared. You can even wonder to say, what's going on? The comments are all about Edgar Lungu's funerals. So the president will not be able to make any posts as long as this funeral issue is not addressed. So the best thing they can do is simply address it. Some of the comments you can see there. And let me not even get people, just go and read the comments and you'll be able to see what's going on in that comment section. People are not afraid the way they're commenting on the president's post there. Because this Eid Mubarak post had nothing to do with the funeral, but you can see it's just emotions. People mourn in different ways, but yeah, so the best thing that government can do at this point is simply address the issue, chant a way forward, and have the balance between government and the family interests. And Patriotic Front commits to state funeral protocols for Edgar Chagwa Lungu. So this is a statement that has been issued by Given Luvinda. Says the Patriotic Front acting president, Given Luvinda, says Zambia's 60th Republican President Edgar Chagwa Lungu deserves a state funeral, adding that the party will fully respect the official program once announced by government. Mr. Luvinda said the Patriotic Front has already commenced its own mourning activities, which should be allowed to proceed without interference. He emphasized the party is right to honor its late leader, Edgar Chagwa Lungu, but in as much as when the government wants to take it over as a state funeral, they are free to do that. And that's one thing that's commendable, that mourning that is taking place at all the provincial headquarters of the PF offices has been allowed to take place. So that's where most of the people are meeting around across the country. And then the meeting that was supposed to take place between government and Makebi Zulu and the representative of Edgar Lungu's family, and you can see there his daughter Tussle Lungu and her husband on the far left there. Finally, it took place, and Makebi has issued a statement. He has put up a video and also a statement updating the nation of the outcome of that particular meeting with government. And it's in this video that you can pick up the template where there's almost what we would call like a tussle between government and the interests of the Patriotic Front, because you can tell, in as much as government will say who's speaking on behalf of the family, they will always meet Makebi Zulu when it comes to the children. It seems like he's the one that's been representing that. And then when they try to talk to Esther Lungu, the former first lady, they will meet Given Lubinda there. So these two individuals are inevitable. I'm pretty sure government would like to avoid interaction with them, but it's inevitable at this point, because the former first lady will not have to speak for herself at this point. If she's given a platform where she honors her husband during the funeral service, you expect her someone to speak on her behalf, and it's likely to be Given Lubinda. And when Given Lubinda is given the opportunity to speak, it's definitely going to be a very political statement, which government does not want to allow, I assume, because as I showed you, a number of heads of state have sent messages, and you can tell there's some level of interest of attending this particular funeral. Whether it's going to be a state funeral or it's just an ordinary funeral, Edgar Lungu is a former head of state. He had his own friends, and yes, so he had people who did not like him. But the fact that he was the former head of state, there are some heads of state there that he had relationships with. So whichever version, whether it's going to be a state funeral or it's just going to be a family funeral, the arrangements, some heads of state will fly in and attend that. Now, the statements that are going to be issued during that funeral are what government is trying to control, because definitely they will not be able to control a statement that is coming from Makebi Zulu. They will not be able to control a statement that is going to come from Given Lubinda. Worse off, they will not be able to control a statement if Raphael Nakachinda is given a platform. So, and then again, if they say Tussle Lungu speaks, she's going to give her right to speak to Makebi Zulu. So these are things that are inevitable. And that's where they should come to an agreement. But it's a political funeral, so those are expected. But that's where I assume most of the bone of contention is who's going to speak at the funeral representing the family, and can they just proceed and just honor the former head of state? Because during this broadcast, Makebi Zulu updated the nation how Edgar Chagwa had left the country. He said during his flying out of the country, he did not inform even the state. He had to go to the airport 30 minutes before his flight, so that the government could not block him from flying out. And as you remember, someone from the airport was actually fired because of allowing Edgar Lungu to fly out. So Makebi Zulu said Edgar Lungu wasn't treated well, and even his flying out of the country was kind of like under the radar. He had to go to the airport 30 minutes before, and then he booked a flight while he started the airport. He did not book it prior to going to the airport. So you can see, like, it's things like that government would like to avoid being made when other heads of state fly in for the funeral. So they don't want to be made to look bad. Pretty much that's what it is. But I can assure you, if Lubinda is given a platform, Makebi Zulu is given a platform to speak, or Raphael Nakachinda, it's definitely going to be one of those highlights. They are definitely going to issue serious political statements. But then again, the government can't do anything about it, because if they say they want someone to speak on behalf of the first lady, former first lady, it's one of those. Those are the inner circle of Edgar Chagwa Lungu. So we'll wait and see how it plays out. But these are the highlights from the broadcast that Makebi Zulu had. So Manuel posted just 30 minutes ago. It says the remains of Edgar Chagwa Lungu arrive on Wednesday, 11th June 2025. Family. So the family of the former president Edgar Lungu speaks on the mortal remains of the president. He should be mourned with dignity. That's one of the highlights from that. The family has recognized that President Lungu was ill-treated several times by the state, including denying him opportunity to access medical treatment since 2022. The state knew the state knew, having served as the president, that President Lungu had an underlying medical condition and was being treated for and sought specialized treatment from South Africa since 2015. The family has the family has acceded to the request by the Zambian community in South Africa to host a church service on Tuesday, 10th June 2025. Oh, actually, the South African community, Zambian community, has been given permission to hold the service. So it seems like right before he flies to, they repatriate his body to Zambia on Wednesday. They're going to have a service in South Africa on Tuesday. That's according to the family and Makebi Zulu there. So they will host a service on Tuesday, 10th June 2025 in South Africa. I'm pretty sure the church service, the church location is going to be communicated soon or later. The family rejected government's the family rejected government's determined request that the body be repatriated to Zambia today or tomorrow. So according to Mlamba Himbe and the delegation representing government, they wanted Edgar Lungu's body to be repatriated to Zambia today or tomorrow, which the family has rejected that. And then he goes further to say the family requests all stakeholders to respect the wish of the family. And then the mortal remains of the former president will be repatriated on Wednesday, 11th June 2025. On Wednesday, when the body arrives in Zambia, the state will begin to play the role issued by Makebi Zulu, family spokesperson. So they say at the moment it's in the hands of the family, and the government will only take over the proceedings once the body arrives in Zambia. That's on Wednesday. That's according to the communication coming from Makebi Zulu and the interaction that they had with the delegation coming from government. And then the UPND put up this article to say, a guest article, Lungu betrayed by his own inner circle, because there's been this back and forth. Edgar Lungu died an abused man. They kept fighting him up to his death. That's Changala. That's a statement. This is according to the mass newspaper there. And then the UPND simply say it's his inner circle that is betraying Edgar Lungu, the ones that betrayed him. But then again, those are just debates which I expected at this point. And then Secretary to the Cabinet, Patrick Kangwa, to address the nation at 14:30 today. So I'm pretty sure after coming to an agreement from that interaction of government and the family in South Africa, that's where Patrick Kangwa is going to chant the way forward on how whether the country has moved into an official state funeral where now we're in what do you call it, like a mourning period. So meaning the flag will be at half-mast or something of that nature. But I'm pretty sure the Secretary to the Cabinet to update the nation with regard to that in a couple of minutes now. What is on the other side? The Chimbuya continues. You can't follow me to the golf club with the powder. Have order. This is a primitive. I will sue you for abuse and assault. So you can see that powder pouring ritual that goes in between the Bembas and the people from the east, and same thing from amongst the Lozis and the Tongas, that tribal cousinship. So that's what's going on with Dixon Jere. This used to be the precedent for Rupia Banda. So he says, I mean, he's going to sue someone, but it's just a joke. It's just banter, as you call it, tribal cousinship. And then in the Daily Nation, Edgar Lungu family rejects state funeral. So that was prior to that engagement that they had with Makebi Zulu in South Africa a couple of hours ago. That's when this was published. But as things stand, they seem to have come to an agreement, and we'll get an update from Patrick Kangwa, that's the Secretary to the Cabinet, on how everything is going to proceed, how many days of mourning is going to be, who we expect in the country, the locations, everything. Once government takes it up. But one thing that is that is obvious, once someone from the family is asked to speak, it's going to be a political individual. It will not be the family. Whether they request Esther Lungu to speak, it's going to be one of those guys. So trying to avoid making it a political funeral is inevitable at this point. The government should just brace itself at this point, and especially if other former heads of state or sitting heads of state fly in, might not look good. And that's probably where the tussle is. Let's wait and see how this whole thing turns out. But yeah, that's what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll keep you posted once the update comes in from the secretary to the cabinet. I assume it's also live at this moment. And that's the news, ladies and gentlemen.